Hi everyone, welcome. It's FPL Matt Day here. We're ready. It's game week 16. It's the last game week before the FIFA World Cup. Can't wait for this one. Obviously, lots to go through. So much happening in this game week. This is the preview stream for game week 16. Tonight, I've got a special guest, Damo at FPL West Ham. As you can see, we've got a Spurs and a West Ham fan together on a stream. I didn't think I'd see the day, but Damo is here. I will get him to introduce himself in a second, but I'm just going to quickly, before I get into it, if anyone who is new around here, if you can just give the channel a subscribe, like this video, and then if you are new in the comments, get your comments in, get your Q&A in, all of your questions in, and we can answer those questions at the end of the stream. So get them in, like the video, and give the channel a subscribe if you are new. But like I just said, I've got a West Ham fan tonight on the stream. It's Damo, FPL West Ham. How you doing, mate? And are you excited for the last game week before the World Cup? How you feeling about it?
Yeah, not too bad. Looking forward to the World Cup. Obviously, looking forward to seeing how Australia goes, and obviously heavy underdogs coming into the World Cup. But yeah, so obviously both our teams are sort of struggling a little bit. So I reckon the break's sort of coming at the right time for both of us, just to reload and hopefully have our players fit and raring to go. So see how we go, sort of thing.
No, I agree. Obviously, the Spurs form's not been great lately. The West Ham West Ham form hasn't been great lately, like Damo just said. So we're probably both looking forward to this break. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring up some comments before I do. This is FPL West Ham's handle, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, at FPL West Ham. So if you're tuned into the stream now, go and give him a follow on Twitter at FPL West Ham. If you watch this on the pre-record, then be sure to go in there and give him a follow. He is actually the sidekick of FPL Amateurs of Oz. So there's two of them in there, FPL West Ham Damo, and then Quinton, who's obviously come on the deadline streams a few times this season. So they are a duo on the FPL Amateurs of Oz. So it's well worth checking out FPL West Ham as well. And great to have him on. What we're going to do tonight, we're going to go through the fixtures. We're going to pick a player from every fixture. Probably do a bit of a score prediction on each one as well. And then we're going to pick our differentials, pick our captains, pick our player pick. Quinton as well has actually given me some picks too. So we're going to go through his, and then we'll talk through maybe some of our transfers, and then we'll do the live questions and answers at the end. So be sure to get all of your questions in. Let's bring up some comments before we go through the share screen. Onto the ball said, let's go. What a great channel he's got there. They've done some great streams all week. So thanks for the comment. Football Ferreira, another brilliant channel. He comes into a lot of the streams. Real top guy with some really nice comments there and emojis. Dan Day, he isn't related to me, but he's obviously got a great surname, just with a bit of a fist bump there. Quinton Dunn, who can't be here tonight, who does regularly come on to the podcast. It's himself and Damon, who FPL Amateurs of Oz, says he can't wait. And then we've got the goal difference with Let's Get It Brother. Quinton's just come in and said, hey fellas, who is this West Ham bloke? And Damo, who is this West Ham bloke? Damo, who's this Quinton bloke is probably what we should all be saying. And then Lexich is back tonight. He's got a question. We are going to go through that at the end, mate. So everyone who's got their questions, get them in the comments and we'll go through the Q&A at the end. Q just says, good to see Damo is out of hiding. Then onto the ball. Is buzzing for the stream. So look, let's get straight into it. Let's share the screen. I'm looking forward to going through these fixtures with Damo. It's nice to get another London team supporter on here as well, especially with West Ham, who are losing like Spurs at the moment. So we can both go through some of these fixture previews in a bit of pain. The expert channel as well, just coming in with big up the channel, lads. Thanks for joining the stream, mate. I subscribe to yourself actually, so it's great to have you in the stream and onto the ball. I'm forever blowing bubbles. What do you think of that, Damo? Surely you're loving that comment. He's loving it. So There you go. He's giving it the full iron sign as well. So let's go into the first game, Damo. We've got Man City versus Brentford. Obviously, over here in Australia, it's 11:30 at night kickoff, which means we've got a 10 p.m. Deadline. This is the early game in the UK. Obviously, we're waiting on Haaland news. We're waiting on Foden news. We're expecting early team news again in this one. Who would you say is the player from this game? You have to have the one player, if you could pick anyone, for FPL, for fantasy football. Who would you pick and why? And what are you thinking scoreline-wise this week?
Well, for mine, I think obviously most of us have Haaland. I'm not going to say Haaland because obviously he's still under a cloud. But I think obviously with Cancelo going to be playing this game, given the red card was the 1 week suspension was played out in the cup game. So I think he's got a lot to prove essentially this week, and because he was sort of shown the straight red. So I'm expecting big things out of Cancelo this week. And I can basically, the only thing I really can see is a comfortable win to Man City. So I can't really see Brentford really doing much. Potentially, if I'm not sure if Tony's back in this week or not, but I know Wembo sort of he borrowed the penalty duty and scored in the absence of Tony. So if I'm going to throw in potentially a player from Brentford, it may be Wembo if Tony's still out. But yeah, I can see sort of a comfortable 3 or 4-0 win to City in this game, especially after they basically had to work really hard to beat Fulham. So they're going to want to come out and make a statement before the World Cup.
No, I agree. And who do you think the player is for this game then? Who's the one player you think we should have for this one?
Oh, I'm going to stick to it and say sort of Cancelo for this.
Yeah.
So, if realistically, no clean sheets guaranteed, but you could almost say there's a high probability of Man City getting a clean sheet. And so that's all, already 6 points for Cancelo there, should they get the clean sheet. And then he's good. He's a good attacking player. So, he's going to want to come out firing. So I can see him scoring double digits in this game.
No, good stuff there from Damo. And look, I agree. I think City are going to win comfortably. I think I was saying in my reaction to Game Week 15 podcast that Brentford have conceded, I think it's 11 goals on the road in their last 3 games. It was, what was it last week? They lost 2-2 they drew, 2 goals at Forest, 4 goals away at Villa. They conceded 5 goals away at Newcastle. So they're conceding for fun in these sort of games. So I think City can win this comfortably, can't they? And this is obviously where if Haaland's fit, for me, if we get the early team news he's going to play, he's a complete must-have. So he's my must-have pick. But I think outside of him, because he's obviously his own kind of special case, he's an absolute beast. I think outside of him, I would probably be saying De Bruyne, if you've still got him in your midfield to sort of keep him. And he's probably the one that's going to come out because he's going to feed all those balls through to Haaland. When Haaland plays, De Bruyne gets the assists. Haaland's making all the runs. It gives De Bruyne, those areas to pick up the ball, get shots and goal as well. So, it's going to be, I think, a bit of a whitewash. Tony is back for Brentford, so he could cause some problems, him and Mbeumo, a big threat. So, they could cause a little bit of a threat. City's defence hasn't been, quite its brilliant self compared to last year. But yeah, I agree with Damo. I think it could be a 3 or 4-0 type of game. So that's Man City. Brentford, definitely keep your City players for this one, but wait on the team news because we should get some early team news on this one. Just going to bring up a couple of comments. I've just seen we've had a few people come in and join the stream. So if you are new here, if you can give the channel a subscribe, it'll be absolutely awesome. Like the video. All the likes are really appreciated. And get your comments in, get your questions in, because me and Damo are going to be doing some Q&A towards the end of the podcast. And we want to try and go through as many topics and questions for the final game week before the World Cup. So get your questions in, especially if you've got any West Ham questions. A little Hammers sign come up here from Onto the Ball. So if you've got any West Ham questions, you can get them in. Spurs questions, Perisic, Kane, get them in as well. Vamos again from Football Ferreira, and he said the chat is busy, full of small clubs. So I think he's referring to myself in my Spurs shirt and Davo in his West Ham shirt. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Everyone thinks Manchester City absolutely demolishes Brentford, and the early kickoff curse strikes. There's a very good point there from PSB. PSB, a very, very good FPL account on Twitter, knows his captains well. He's come in and said there could be an early curse. Welcome to the stream, Bora TV. Great to have you on a stream again, mate. It's yes, but I think I've seen you on one a couple of weeks ago. It's good to have you back in, mate. Hello, Matt and Damo. Give Damo a follow as well. His handle is actually on his name there at FPL West Ham. So everyone go check him out on Twitter. Quinton has come into the comments with 4-0. Grealish is the pick. He's really, really talking up Grealish at the moment. So that is an interesting one there from Quinton. Onto the ball with a nice little emoji there. And then Football Ferreira saying Arsenal also small, Chelsea too. So not a fan of the London clubs is Football Ferreira. But going away from London, we're going to go to the South Coast with Bournemouth versus Everton. Bournemouth, who have actually been on quite a sort of good run under Gary O'Neill. They're sitting a bit more comfortable now in the table compared to what they were at the start. Everton, on the other hand, just started to take a little bit of a downward spiral lately, and there's been a bit of pressure on Lampard all of a sudden. I don't think Everton's team is great, and I think just staying in the Premier League is probably an all right season for them this year. But look, I'll start off with my prediction on this one for this game, because I have got Dominic Solanke in my team, and he's going to be my pick again. I think I've been picking him every week. I think me and Q come up with a name for like Ballon d'Or Solanke or something. I can't remember what it was, or Solanke the GOAT. I think it might be. It might have been PSB that made it up. So Solanke the GOAT is my player pick from this. I actually think Bournemouth are going to come out and beat Everton in this game. They beat them 4-1 in the League Cup in the week. I know the teams were a bit more second string, but I just think the confidence isn't quite there with Everton, and they need this break. Players like Connor Cody, who are big players for them, will probably be having one eye on the World Cup now they've been picked in the World Cup squad. So I'm going to back Bournemouth to win this one by 2-0. I'm liking Solanke. So he likes a Tavernier, Philip Billin, but Solanke is my pick, as we've had here. Solanke the GOAT. Oh, sorry, there we go. There's a PSB one. We'll bring that one up in a second. Here we go. Solanke is the GOAT. There you go. So the GOAT Solanke. Big Dom Solanke on the South Coast. Ex-Liverpool as well. So he will want to be scoring against their Merseyside rivals, Everton. Damo, what are you thinking? I've gone 2-0 on Solanke. Is there someone else you think's a better pick for this? Maybe a Calvert-Lewin or
no, Calvert-Lewin's all. Firstly, I think Bournemouth do win the game 2-0 as well. So, and in terms of Bournemouth, I think Tavernier is the pick of the bunch. Other than sort of Solanke, he had a brilliant game the last game. He's with 1 goal and 2 assists. He's really coming into his own this season. So I think he's sort of the pick of the Bournemouth players. Obviously, Solanke, got into the score sheet himself and scored a beautiful sort of counter-attack goal. But I do like Tavernier's work at the moment this season. In terms of Everton, they can't catch a trick at the moment. DCL actually got subbed off of an injury, so he's
that's right.
So he's there. They've looked bad. They've looked real bad. So and they've hardly been a threat. They were hardly a threat to Leicester's defence. And we all know sort of Leicester's recently been not too bad, but haven't been great themselves. So I can actually see the Cherries getting on top here and winning 2-0 in this game.
Now, good stuff from Damon. He makes a good point there about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He actually did pick up an injury last week, and obviously I think I was saying on the podcast last week, pick him with caution because of his injuries. Gets one again, and he actually come off on the 61st minute. So everyone that did get him in at least got the extra point for him, because if it was before 60 minutes, he would have only got a 1-pointer. But that's Bournemouth versus.
I was just going to say he just can't catch a trick. He's a brilliant player. He can't. Like, a couple of seasons ago, you couldn't stop him. But injuries have sort of caught up with him. So, can't catch a trick this season.
No, I agree. I remember that it was the lockdown season and Calvert-Lewin was just phenomenal. And yeah, he's just not been able to get out of the injuries. And it's an interesting one because someone like Calvert-Lewin, you think if he'd stayed fit last season, this season, kept banging the goals in, he might have even been in the shout for the England squad. But now with the timing of the Qatar World Cup and mid-season and all these games that have been played, it's obviously not going to happen for Calvert-Lewin. But that is Bournemouth versus Everton. Just a couple of comments that did come in whilst me and Damo were talking about that one. PSB coming and going. He's captaining Salah. At my rank, there's everything to gain and nothing to lose. Love that, mate. Obviously, we will go through the captain shout soon. Onto the ball with some angry faces and laughing faces there. I think it was with some of the small club comments because Liverpool was included in one of Football Ferreira's small club comments. And then a response here. PSB knows Forza Salah. Come on, Reds. There's a few Liverpool fans in here, so we're about to preview the Liverpool. Actually works really well for our Liverpool-Southampton game next. But before we do that, Quentin said 1-0 Everton. Mikalenko, the fullback, is his pick. So, yeah, that's he's gone against me and Damien. He's gone against the grey in there. He's done something a little bit different, so we'll see how that one goes. But Quentin, with a big shout there. So let's go to Liverpool-Southampton. Obviously, this is a managerless... Oh, no, sorry, they've got Nathan Jones in now, actually. From Luton. So Southampton have got Nathan Jones in. Anfield away first. Obviously a tough stadium to go to. Liverpool did win in the League Cup in the week, but they did play a bunch of kids. I think the most diehard Liverpool fans may even struggle to know who some of those players were. There was just some players that, never even been in the first team, but they won on pens. Salah, obviously Liverpool beat my team Spurs last week. Salah was back with 2 goals, some lovely finishes, lovely little chip over Lloris that made it 2-0. They've got Saints this week, obviously don't have a manager. Their form isn't good. So this, you're probably expecting Liverpool to come out and win this. I know they've had their problems, but I'd still back them to win. I'll go 2-0. I think Núñez is going to be my pick. He's just getting so many shots off. Lots of shots at goal. I feel like he is due a decent return. So I want to back him to get a goal and an assist in this game. So I'm going to back Liverpool to win this 2-0. Núñez with the goal and the assist. I think if it was sort of the Liverpool of the last couple of seasons, I probably would have said it could have been a bit more of a whitewash. But I think, with everyone sort of winding down for the World Cup, it could be sort of a 2-0 game with Núñez being my pick, which shows quite well. We've had a comment come in here from Lexich just saying Darwin coming up with a hat-trick masterclass, calling it. So he's back in Darwin. Quinton's come in and said Liverpool 3-0, Robert, a great shout. So Quinton's loving Robertson in defence. He's going 3-0. So a lot of Liverpool love, Liverpool assets, doing the rounds for this game week. Damo, do you think Liverpool are going to win? And is Darwin your pick, or are you going to go Salah?
No, I'm going Salah. I think the same thing, 3-0. Look, Núñez is terrific. He got an absolute gimme from Dyer last week. And both finishes were sort of impressive with Salah and Núñez. I think they're the 2 picks for this week. So basically I think Salah basically a shout. Captain as well. Sorry, having a few issues. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry.
So good. Damo has just had a knock at the door. So we've just lost Damo for a second, but I will continue. Looks like he's back in Liverpool and Salah to be the man. We just had a comment come in from Renee in the comments. We are actually going to go through the Q&A at the end. Just whilst Damo comes back, if you are new to the stream, if you can just like the video, subscribe if you're new here, and get your comments in. PSB has come in and he's just said Liverpool 4-0, Salah with a brace and an assist. So he is back in Salah. And onto the ball, reckons it'll either be 9-0 Liverpool or 1-0 Southampton. He isn't wrong. It's probably going to be one extreme or another because Southampton are one of those teams. They either get absolutely hammered or they find a way to just stay in the game and pick up a freak result. We've seen it plenty of times down the years. And the last time Liverpool won 9-0, Salah didn't get one return. It was against Bournemouth. That was absolutely insane. But both me and Damo are backing a Liverpool win. Let's go on to let's go on to Nottingham Forest versus Palace. Damo is still offline, so I'll go through this one. And if Damo comes back, we'll get him to just quickly pick his player and score. Forest obviously picked up some form. They made a lot of changes in the League Cup. won 2-0 and was still able to beat my team Spurs. So, yeah, I think that might say more about Spurs at the moment than Nottingham Forest. But Palace, good win at West Ham last week. Zaha got us the double-digit return that we were all waiting for, which means he's going to be my pick for this game. I'm backing him. He's in my team. I think Zaha is going to come out, and I think he's going to put on a really good show in this game. I don't think Forest will be completely out of the game, though. I think it'll be a 2-1 win for Palace, just like last week at West Ham, and a late goal potentially from Zaha. So really, really liking him. I think if you've got Nico Williams, I would probably still pick my Palace defenders and attackers over the likes of Nico Williams this week. But I'm still going to back 2-1 and Wilfred Zaha to be the pick for this game week. But yeah, these are the games where you look at and you think, it might not potentially be the best game, but they end up springing up a bit of a surprise, just like the Nottingham Forest Brentford game last week. So very interesting game. Comment from Quinton: Palace 4, 2, and Eze will be the big pick. He loves Eze, and to be fair, he's been absolutely spot on with Eze now for a few weeks, because Eze has had a few double-digit returns. And then Lexic has just come in and said if Zaha is playing as a striker, he is going to get a great return. And that's absolutely right. Zaha, I think, has been playing quite central, and that is where he is most dangerous. And, he could come out and get us another double-digit score, we hope. But Damo is back. I ended up going 2-1 Palace, Damo, and Zaha was my pick. So what's your thoughts, mate? Who's your pick, and what's your score prediction?
Yeah, I'm going to go a draw here. I'm going to go 2-2 draw with Forest and Palace. I think Zaha is a great pick. Had a goal and a late assist, and had the most attempts on goal in the last match. So I think he can continue his good form. Also, Eze, not a bad pick for Palace as well. In terms of Forest, let me scroll down so I can have a look at my notes. I think the best player last game was Gibbs White, so I think Gibbs White can potentially do something in this game as well. As I said, I think it's just going to be an entertaining contest, and I think it'll finish in 2-2.
Now, that's a good pick. I actually had an agreement in the comments from Renee. I agree, Demo, 2-2 off the back of their win last weekend. So she's thinking the draw is going to be a draw. Obviously, Palace did win last week, and obviously you would have seen, parts of that game. They obviously beat your team, West Ham, Damo. Were they good against you? Were they good? Were they in control? Or?
Yeah, we played terribly. So it was probably a combination of them playing quite well and us just playing very poorly.
Good stuff. So good to get some insight from Damo, who obviously did get to see Palace beat his side in the last minute last week. We just had a comment coming now from Lexic. 3-2 Palace with a late winner by Elise. So he's backing Elise for another late winner. Elise is always a really good FPL pick because he's cheap. He gets on the ball a lot. So if he gets a goal or an assist, he's always got a high chance of BPS. And he's obviously just so good to watch. Very talented player. He's someone I'm just waiting until he starts playing, 30 plus games a season. And he could end up being a really, really good pick and player. Really exciting youngster who's had some injury problems, but now he is back in the team and he's well worth a watch. I really love that pick from Lexic. So now we've got Spurs versus Leeds. My team Spurs are playing against Leeds, who all the Leeds games at the moment just seem to involve goals, defensive errors, defensive mistakes. And all the Spurs games of late also seem to be Spurs going 2-0 down and having to try and find a way back into the game. Very, very frustrating at the moment from a Spurs perspective. I would have said after the Liverpool game, because we actually played very well in that second half against Liverpool. And we hit the bar twice. We had plenty of chances. There was open goals missed. And I felt like if it had gone for 5 minutes longer, we probably would have got the equaliser. But then after the Forest debacle and playing, pretty much a full strength team, I'm now looking at this game and I'm a little bit worried, a little bit nervous, especially with Harry Kane, looking a bit tired now. He's got England on the back of his mind. They play in, less than a week and a half after this game. So I'm a little bit worried. So I'll give, just already we've got Renee Carras coming with, come on, you Spurs. That's great to see. It's good to see some fellow Spurs fans in the comments because we do tend to get a little bit of Spurs hate sometimes, which I don't mind. It's all part of the fun. But you know what? I said this to my mate earlier, and I said, you know what? I can't see us winning this convincingly. I can see it being an absolute scrap and maybe a 2-1. Kulusevski is my pick. I'll talk more about him later on in the pod, but I'm going to go 2-1, and Kulusevski is my pick for this. I'd normally pick Harry Kane, but I just think the England game is going to be on the back of his mind. He is not going to want to get injured. And that is the case for a few players in this game week. But, with this short turnaround for the World Cup, I'm going to go 2-1 to Spurs. I can see Leeds scoring there, a very attacking side. They look to have found their shooting boots again with 4 goals against Bournemouth last week. Damo, what are your thoughts? Who's your FPL pick? First of all, who's your FPL pick? Do you think that is a must-have? And then what do you think scoreline-wise?
Yeah, so I agree with you in terms of thinking it Spurs are probably going to win this one. I think it's going to be high scoring, higher than you think. So I'm going to go 4-3 for Spurs. I think Kulusevski is the pick of the bunch this week. Last week came on as a sub, had immediate impact with an assist to Kane. Perisic was really unlucky last week. He hit the woodwork twice, and he basically played as an attacker. So I know, we haven't been able to trust Perisic much this season due to either not starting or being on the bench and whatnot. But I'm going to say Kulusevski as the person the player to look out for, potentially even, and I know we're sort of going to talk about it later, a bit of a Maverick captain as the for this week.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Kulusevski is a great shout, which does quickly lead into this comment from Q. 3-1 Spurs, Kulu masterclass. So he agrees with you, Damo, and obviously myself and Kulusevski. I want to say you make a good point about Perisic, because he did play in a front two, or sort of, was it the 3 against Liverpool, hit the woodwork twice, like you mentioned, and then he did play in the 2 against Forest in the week as well. And when he played in a 2 again with Kane, they subbed him after an hour. So obviously he is going to play in this. Spurs are short of attackers. Lucas Moura's had a knock. Son's injured. Richarlison's only just come back. There's problems. Obviously, Kulusevski is coming back now too. But I think Perisic is a great shout. And if he does play in that front 3, he could be, obviously with a clean sheet, potentially imagine him getting a clean sheet and a goal, and he's got potential to get assists, because Spurs have scored the most goals from set pieces this season, and he's on set plays. So that's actually he's got me thinking that if there's a way I could get Perisic, this could be worth a -4 for me now. I think it could be I've got the Spurs shirt on, but for West Ham fans talking up Spurs players like Perisic, then it means something. So that could be a good shout. But is there anything further you wanted to add on that?
Yeah, I was going to say, in terms of, let's not leave Leeds out, because I think it will be a good contest. Definitely Rodrigo's one he's been on the score sheet lately. He was my differential pick last week and came the goods. So I can definitely see Rodrigo getting some attacking points this week. And one of my sort of on the radar or on the watch list could be a great enabler, Somerville. He had a really
he's been brilliant. He's cheap as well.
Yeah, he is, and he won the penalty after a really great run. He's definitely one for the watch list, potentially after the World Cup. So definitely one on my radar.
No, I agree, and I think definitely can't look past Leeds, because they'll be going for it. They'll be looking for goals. They'll be wanting to suck the life out of Spurs, who obviously have a lot of fitness issues at the moment, tired legs. Leeds will be wanting to be, getting Tottenham by the scruff of the neck and hopefully scoring a couple of goals. So Lexic agrees. He thinks 2 goals through in extra time, resulting in a crazy 3-2 Leeds win. You never know. It's got that feeling with Spurs at the moment that they could be leading a game or losing a game 2-0 and then claw themselves back in it only to end up losing the game anyway. And onto the Bulls coming in and said, Kulusevski tore Liverpool apart, was glad he wasn't on the pitch longer. I agree. I feel like if Kulusevski had come on maybe at half time, because I always look at it and think, if you're a sub, like, you surely are at least fit enough to be able to play a half, or you should be fit enough to play at least a half of a game, or, 70 or 80 minutes. And I just thought if he'd come on at half time, could have been, a draw in the end. But he didn't. He come on with about 20, 30 minutes to go. He got the assist and he was brilliant. So, yeah, really good comment. And onto the ball, he's a Liverpool fan, aren't you? So, to say that as a Liverpool fan, he's come out and said Kulusevski tore him apart is a big compliment for Kulusevski. That Spurs versus Leeds. Here is the one for West Ham, FPL West Ham Damo. This is the fixture that he waits for on podcasts every week. It's the West Ham talk. West Ham versus Leicester. West Ham obviously knocked out in the League Cup as well in the week on penalties. 10-9 it was against for Blackburn. They've got Leicester, who have picked up some form lately. They've started to keep some clean sheets. One thing I will say, because I'm going to hand it over straight to Damo to talk about West Ham and the prediction and his player pick before I go through. I want to quickly add one thing in this fixture, which could help and benefit West Ham, is James Maddison has just been picked into the England squad, and he's been one of Leicester's best players of late, on absolute fire. And I just get this feeling he's got this England call up. Wasn't really expected because Southgate hasn't picked him in really any squads other than maybe one. And I think he'll be looking at it as how, he's been injury prone in the past. How much is he going to give in this game? Is he going to want to preserve himself? Will that then help West Ham with the victory in this one? But we'll see what Mr. West Ham, Damo himself, FPL West Ham thinks. What's your score prediction, and who is your FPL player to pick from this one?
So I'm going to go conservative and go 1-0 for West Ham. I think we can get back onto the winners bandwagon this week. I've got to say, in terms of last week, Ben Rama, he's got onto a little bit of a run at the moment. He's probably my one that I would pick in terms of West Ham if you're going to have a punt. I wouldn't necessarily be jumping on any West Ham players at the moment, but he's one that, if given the World Cup is next week, and if you wanted to have someone that little bit different, I think he's still not highly owned. Ben Rama's probably the one. You could see how the crowd sort of turned on Moyes when he took him off so early last week. And we're just going through a bad patch of form at the moment. Like we're sort of like riding the highs of Europe can only take you sort of so far. Like won all our European games. I think we're the only club that has won six games straight in terms of our European games. But like when you can win all the European games in the world, but then when you're losing to Palace at home, it really does hurt. It was good to see Paqueta back. Will definitely sort of help us improve. And again, I don't know what's going on with us. On paper, we look strong on paper, but just can't get it together. This season reminds me a little bit. I'm hoping it doesn't go down this path, but it reminds me a lot of the 2003 season when we got relegated on 42 points with our best team ever. So, going on the players of the past, we had James in goals, Carrick, Cole, DiCanio, Sinclair, Defoe. A few of those players and Canute. We had a brilliant team, absolute brilliant team, and still got relegated that season on the highest points total ever. So I have concerns, but I'm hoping that we can sort of turn it around. And as I said, in terms of West Ham, I'd be looking at Ben Rama and probably Ben Rama only at this stage. In terms of Leicester, I'm just going to pull Leicester up. They kept another clean sheet. In terms of the FPL side, I'm actually really loving the tandem Leicester goalkeepers that I have at the moment, because they've just Ward's actually delivered the goods in. He's
been playing well. He's been getting the clean sheets after all the abuse. He's been banging the clean sheets.
And I basically jumped on him because I needed a bit of extra coin. So I sort of jumped on him. I saw the run that they had coming up, and I'm like, look, I'm going to take a risk here. And it's paid off in spades, actually. So the concerns around, obviously, us playing Leicester is they've kept 4 clean sheets out of 5. So that's why I've sort of said it's more than likely going to be, low on the lower scoring side. Tielemans played absolutely brilliantly last week, scored a goal of the season contender, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And
twice he's done that now as well.
Yeah, and Barnes actually played pretty well, but he missed a one-on-one chance in the last minute from a Madison pass. So look, it's not going to be easy for us. I think we can just scrape through. We have to because I don't think Moyes is feeling the pinch at the moment. I think our supporters are trying to be as patient as we can because obviously, he's gotten us into Europe. He's, sort of kept us in that sort of top half of the table. But yeah, so I think patience only wears thin. And if we can't get over Leicester at home, then we're in trouble.
So what's your final score?
Yeah, I think 1-0 West Ham. I think
1-0. West Ham. Go Benrahma?
I think Benrahma. Yeah, Benrahma scores it.
Awesome. So good stuff. Good West Ham insight there from FPL West Ham. Damo. I'll give my analysis in a second. I just want to just go through a couple of comments. Also, I've had a few new people join the stream. So if you can just like the stream, that'll be absolutely awesome. Subscribe if you're new here and you like what you see. That'll be brilliant. Give FPL West Ham a follow as well. As you can see, at FPL West Ham on Twitter. What we're going to do, we're going to wrap up these fixtures. So we're just previewing the rest of the fixtures. We're up to West Ham versus Leicester, as you can see on the screen. And then once this is done, we are going to go through our differentials, captains, player pick, and then all the questions that have come in. Because I can see Jermaine Edwards has asked a question. We had a question from Renee. We had a question earlier on as well at the start. We are going to go through all the questions at the end of the podcast. So get your questions in now. And continue to watch the stream, and we will go through them at the end. A full Q&A from myself and FPL West Ham Damo. Just to quickly pull up the comments again. Tielemans is on fire. He's had 2 absolute goal of the season contenders lately. PSB coming and said Benrahma is hauling, great form and penalties. Even Fabio Borges has backed him do well. Fabio Borges is one of the elite FPL players. Funnily enough, I actually had Benrahma as one of my 3 differentials last week on the podcast. And he did get a goal, so I was happy with that. And I picked him in one of my draft teams, which was even better because I think I might have won that draft game as well. So I'm happy with that. As for this game, I'm going to back West Ham to win as well. Leicester have been on form, but actually, you know what? I'm changing. I'm going to go draw. I'm going to go 1-1 draw. And it's because I think West Ham will scrap a result. I think Leicester have been on good form. But I do think someone like James Maddison, who pulls the strings for Leicester, will have his foot slightly off the gas. Same as Tielemans. These guys, they go to their national team a couple of days after this game. They're meeting on Monday, a lot of these nations and these teams, or Tuesday. People like Maddison, first World Cup call-up. He's been dreaming of this since a kid. Does he really want to go out on the weekend and give it 150% and, get an injury, especially when he's had injuries before? I just look at it and think he will not want to go too hard. So I'm going to back 1-1. I love the Benrahma shout from Damo as well, but I'm actually going to pick Harvey Barnes from Leicester. He's had 3 returns in his last 4. I think he's a really good pick for Leicester at the moment. So I'm going to back a Leicester player. It's going to be him. I do think the game will end in a 1-1 draw, and both teams will share the points. PSB's come in and said Benrahma is hauling. Oh, sorry, bring that one. He said West Ham will win 2-1. So he reckons West Ham will win the game. So that's West Ham, Leicester. Let's go on to Newcastle versus Chelsea. I'll start off with this one. Chelsea's form hasn't been great under Potter. They've been making a lot of changes to the lineup. Hasn't quite been going for them. I think it will in time. I think Potter needs time. He obviously has a way he likes to play. But this is that time in the season where there just isn't time. There's so many games. You've got a World Cup. Then you get back from the World Cup. There's no time for him to really do anything. And even in the World Cup, he might go and do some training with the squad. But Chelsea got a lot of international footballers. So really tricky situation for Chelsea. On the flip side, Newcastle are on absolute fire, winning for fun. Haven't had any Europe either, so they've been playing the same team week in, week out. You've got Trippier on form, Dan Burn on form, Callum Wilson's hitting form, but that man Almiron is just scoring for fun, a ridiculous amount of points. Seems to be getting double-digit scores nearly every week. Last week he didn't, but he's still got a goal. So I can't back a Chelsea player in this. I probably can't back a Chelsea win. They've also got a very, very terrible record at St James's Park. So I'm going to have to back Newcastle to take this one out. And I think they'll win it 1-0. Chelsea obviously losing 4-1 to Brighton and then 1-0 to Arsenal last week. It's not looking good for them. They also lost in the League Cup in the week 2-0. I can see Newcastle winning this 1-0. I think Chelsea will defend for their lives and Newcastle will score. I'm going to back a Kieran Trippier free kick. He's almost getting to the point of 100% owned. Like he's already probably at about 70% owned. So I'm going to back Trippier to bang a free kick in just before the World Cup. He'll get subbed off just to keep him fresh so he doesn't get injured, ready to start for England against Iran. So 1-0 to Newcastle. I can't see Chelsea getting anything out of this game. Sorry to any Chelsea fans who are tuned into the podcast, but I just can't see anything happening for Chelsea. Lexic has come in and said Newcastle is a serious team to watch for a top 4 spot. I agree they are. The one thing I will say with Newcastle is I feel like the second half of the season will start to tell as we get deeper in. Right now there's a lot of teams playing, almost 2.5 games a week because there's been 3 games in sort of every 8 or 9 days for sort of the clubs that are in Europe, whereas Newcastle don't have that. And I feel the second half of the season, as teams start getting knocked out of cups in Europe, it could be a little bit different. But yeah, Newcastle are serious contenders for that top 4. So yeah, let's see what happens. Damo, what's your score prediction and who is your FPL pick for this game? Who's a player you think we need to get our eyes on? We need a pick for this one.
So it's a hard one. It's a hard one because there's so many good players at Newcastle at the moment. I will say not so much player to pick, but play to watch in terms of Wilson. He was taken off at half-time. So just keep an eye on for that update on Wilson for Newcastle. But they've been playing well under Eddie Howe, and I think my pick would have to be either Almiron or Trippier. Trippier owners, and I'm one of them, subbed off for the second time before the clean sheet gets wiped. So yay for the FPL players that have Trippier in their side. So they've scored a few more points than what they should have, given that Newcastle conceded shortly after Trippier's come off. So, look, I'm
How good was that? How good was that?
Yeah.
Still gets his double-digit score, right? Well, it's good, but then when you realise most of the game has him, you're like, oh, kind of means nothing.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. I'm actually probably going to go Trippier to keep going with the sort of the good form. I think it might even be given, sort of talked up Cancelo, talked up Trippier. I think it might be the week of defenders this week. Just sort of had a little bit of a feeling on that. But yeah, so that's basically Newcastle. In terms of Chelsea, again, I don't want to disappoint the Chelsea fans, but there's not really anyone I'd look at whatsoever. They're not playing well. They look bad. I'd actually recommend you avoid all Chelsea players for now. Obviously,
that's a big call. And to be fair, if there's any Chelsea fans in the comments, let us know what you think. If we've got any Chelsea fans tuning in, or even if you're watching this on pre-record afterwards, let us know what you think about Chelsea at the moment, because it's a big call, but it's also I also kind of agree, because without Reece James and Sterling's not important, like, who do we even pick?
And that's exactly what I was about to say. Without Reece James in that side, he makes a massive difference, and I probably don't want to look at Chelsea assets until Reece James is back and firing. So, like, after the World Cup, they've got Bournemouth and Forest first up before they've got City. So, obviously, we were looking at Chelsea players for those sort of 2 fixtures before City. And, I think they can turn it around. But, at the moment, I'd be avoiding Chelsea players.
Big call from Damo, but I agree with him. And this isn't just because we've got Spurs and a West Ham fan together against the other London clubs. I think it just shows with Chelsea's form, it's not been great. Good comment here from PSB, and he's come in and he said, Wilson is training alone away from the squad. Eddie Howe will make a late decision. Don't think he'll be risked before the World Cup, which is that's actually a really good call. And I think that's true again. Like I was mentioning with the likes of James Maddison, these guys do not want to get injured. Same as Richarlison at Spurs, call up for Brazil. He's just come back from an injury. How much are these guys really going to be given? Harry Kane, captain of England, big tournament for him. Whether or not, he probably will still be around for the next World Cup, but you just never know, right? This is a World Cup, so there is going to be some very interesting, things that come up with this World Cup in this one. But yeah, good insight from Damo. Both of us are back in Newcastle. We'll go on to Wolves versus Arsenal. But before we do, we did just have we'll bring up a comment from Matt Cowlin in a second. We just have a comment from Renee. Rumours about Ronaldo being sold to Chelsea. So, if Chelsea can sign him in January, and kind of get themselves together, then he could be back on the FPL radars. So there we go with a bit of a Chelsea comment there. But just before we move on to Wolves versus Arsenal, Matt Cullen's come in and said Núñez chaos this weekend. Obviously, we did go through Liverpool-Southampton earlier, and Núñez was our pick. My pick. Anyway, Damo was on Mo Salah for this one. But Núñez to cause chaos. We will talk about him again shortly. Let's go on to Wolves versus Arsenal. Wolves have a new manager, I believe, ex-Seville. Was at Real Madrid, didn't do so well there, but was very good when he was at Seville, won them the Europa League. First game for him, but it is a very toothless Wolves side. You've got an Arsenal team on form, playing good football, looking strong at the back, strong going forward. A Wolves side who they don't score many goals. Again, I think I'll back Arsenal to win this game. I think they'll win it comfortably. It could be a 2 or 3-0 to Arsenal, I think. I just can't see Wolves. I can't see them getting anything out of this game. I just don't see where Wolves get a goal. I don't see where Wolves can just get themselves up for it. I'm just not feeling it from a Wolves perspective. So I think Arsenal will win this. There's a lot of players you can pick. I think, Saliba, who's been on really good form. You've obviously got Jesus, Saka. But the one man I'm going to pick, and he caught my eye in the game against Chelsea last week, was Zinchenko, who obviously earlier on in the season got a really good haul on the first day of the season. Then he had a couple of clean sheets, but then he had his injury problems. But last week, he got 7 points away at Chelsea. Whenever he keeps a clean sheet, he gets on the ball a lot. And he seems to really attract that BPS because he doesn't give the ball away much, gets forward, interchanges into midfield. So Zinchenko is going to be my pick from this game. I think Arsenal will keep a clean sheet. I think he might even get an attack in return, and I'll back a 2 or 3-0 win for Arsenal in this one. Nothing from Wolves for me. Maybe if you're a Jose Sarr owner, you may potentially get some save points, potentially a penalty save because he does like the odd pen, but I can't see anything for Wolves in this game. Probably all Arsenal for me. And obviously I'm a Spurs fan, but I've got to give Arsenal the credit. From an FPL point of view as well, that's the team to back in this fixture. Damo, what are you thinking? Can you see Wolves getting anything from this, or can you just see it being completely one-way traffic?
Not with basically their whole strike force on the shelf at the moment. I know
for Wolves.
I know Jimenez is due to come back. It does say on the FPL site that he's due to come back this game, but whether he does or not, or makes a bench appearance, I don't think it will make much of a difference. I think Arsenal just have too much firepower at the moment. Arsenal. Jesus, he missed an easy chance. It could have been an assist for Martinelli in that game. I know Saka probably would have been cursing because Gabriel touched the ball on the way through, which was going in the net. So us Saka owners are a little bit disappointed. Could have gotten a few more points out of Saka, and I think Saka's the one to pick this week. I think he would have been filthy seeing Gabriel get the goal instead of him. So. And I think Wolves they're in trouble.
They really are. They really are.
They're in trouble.
They just can't score. And like you said, all their strikers are out.
And they just don't have strikers. I think now can't for the life of me remember the name, but their striker that they brought in ended up getting an ACL. No, was it
PCL or something? That's right.
The Ukrainian. put him out for the season. So it's a bit of an unfortunate for them. The only players that sort of did play semi-well, probably Guedes and Huang, which both had a good game. Obviously never scored a penalty, but I just can't see them score in this game. I'm going to go Arsenal 3-0.
Yeah, I think we're both got a similar opinion on that one. It makes a good point as well, Damien does, with Saka. Saka's in my team, so I would have preferred, when Arsenal win, if he does at least get returns, it's good for my team. And I would have preferred that corner go all the way in so Saka gets the points, because picking him over Almiron hasn't been the best pick of late. The one concern I do have about Saka is if, he does get, say, through 60 minutes, Arsenal winning comfortably, he doesn't return, and then Arteta's like, see you, mate, you're off to the World Cup. Go and enjoy your World Cup with England. But I agree. If he's going to be on the ball a lot for Arsenal, he is dangerous against a Wolves side that isn't looking great. Some comments have come in as well from PSB, who has said Lopetegui may take charge after the World Cup. Don't think he's in charge of Wolves this game, but not sure. Yeah, I think that actually could be the case, because I was having a look through some Wolves news on the Instagram and had seen that they hadn't actually announced him officially on there, which I found interesting because, I had read elsewhere that he was announced or was going to be announced. I'm not even sure what's going on with Wolves. It's a very interesting case in the Midlands, and PSV also says Wolves can see most chances down their flanks. Saka and Martinelli to feast. Yeah, you're not wrong. Semedo on that right-hand side has been pretty dreadful for the most part when he's played as well. Not looking good for Wolves in the first half of the season. And this is where you get teams like Wolves, first half of the season, awful season so far. Arsenal, great season so far. But that's where this World Cup break is brilliant for someone like Wolves, because they can probably rejuvenate, come back, almost feels like you start on the season again. Arsenal, they will not want this World Cup break. They've got the momentum. They will not want injuries, because they've not had any key injuries this year in this season. So they will not want this World Cup. So it could be a very interesting second half of the season, post-World Cup, because we've never had anything like this where there's been a break like this, other than COVID. But at this stage of the season, it is pretty incredible. But that's Wolves versus Arsenal. Let's go on to Brighton versus Villa. We'll quickly wrap up these fixtures so we can get on to our differentials and our captains and our transfers and our Q&A. So get your questions in ready for the Q&A section at the end of the pod. Brighton Villa. I'm going to back Brighton to come out and win this 3-1. Emery got the good win against Man United last week. Lost last night, obviously, in the Cup. Brighton are on a high from winning away at Arsenal the night before. They get that extra day's rest. I think Brighton will win 3-1, and I think it will be the Leandro Trossard show. So 3-1 to Brighton. Trossard remains my FPL pick. Seems to be returning in most games he plays. Thoughts on that, Damo? Is there anyone else you'd pick? Is there someone from Villa you think that we should look at instead? Do you think Villa might get another Premier League win under Unai Emery?
Well, yeah. So I actually think it's going to be a high-scoring draw in this game. I'm going to go 3-3.
Wow, that is a bold call. I like that.
I would almost say this is, given their forms, this is almost game of the round. Okay. I'm hoping it sort of lives up to the hype I've just given it.
I hope so. Hope it's not 0-0.
Yeah, I agree. It's probably going to be the Trossard show for Brighton. Trossard was involved in basically all the attacks in the last game that they played, and he remains a really, really good option. And yeah, so in terms of Villa, like they're starting to put some things together. I think in terms of Villa, I think Ramsey might be a really good option.
Jacob Ramsey, yeah, he is a good pick.
He scored a goal and 2 assists and an own goal with 3 bonus. So he did it all last game, and and obviously. Wow. The ultimate troll, Digne, just with a brilliant free kick goal. So
he's the ultimate FPL troll.
I'm not going to recommend Digne at all. I've been burnt way too many times in having him in my sides to recommend him to anyone. But I do like Ramsey. He's a quality player, and I think he can get something out of this game as well. I think they both teams are pretty evenly matched. And obviously, Villa probably have a little bit to prove, but then so does Brighton. I think Obviously, everyone was expecting Brighton to go downhill when they lost Potter, but they've sort of just gone from strength to strength. So, it's going to be. I think it's going to be a highly entertaining contest. So, yeah, let's hope for that.
Big call from Damo. And PSB says, wow, Damo, 3-3. I should think twice or thrice before playing Webster. What a comment there from PSB with Damo's wild prediction. But bold prediction, and we like those bold predictions on this podcast. Just one about Jacob Ramsey. Damo did mention, so last week against Man United, 14 points, 2 assists, a goal, 3 bonus, and the own goal that Damo mentioned. He ended on 14 points. That is phenomenal. He's effectively got 4 goal returns. If you include the own goal, that is an incredible score. He's 5.2 million, 0.9% selected. Big enabler to look at now or even post World Cup, especially because Villa's fixtures are quite good after the World Cup. And if they do pick up form under Emery, he could be that sort of fifth midfielder that we all love as a cheap enabler. So that's Brighton versus Villa. Let's end with Fulham Man United before we go on to the differentials and the captains. Man United just come off a flying win in the League Cup. Fulham were unlucky not to get something against Man City. Pereira's on form, but Mitrovic is out. Just before we do that, we'll just had a quick one come in. Thoughts on Mitoma from Brighton. He looks talented. Obviously, he was good in the League Cup in the week as well. He's been on good form when he's played for Brighton, but I think he's someone to keep an eye on, wait and see, watch a few more minutes. I've probably not watched enough Brighton games to comment on that one any further, but PSB, he could be another enabler. Him, Somerville, who Damo mentioned as well, Jacob Ramsey, who Damo has also mentioned. These are all enablers we are going to look at during the second half of the season. Obviously we've got another one who's in this Fulham Man United game, Pereira, who's just been getting points for fun lately. I'm sure we're all going to leave him on our bench again this week, and he's going to score or assist. He's probably going to be on my bench. I'll end up probably taking a hit and then saying, if only I'd played for Pereira, I wouldn't have needed to take a hit. But I'm going to back Man United to win. I think it'll be 2-1. They're obviously quite patchy, Man United. They can be good one week, poor the next week. But I think they'll win this 2-1. They'll have just about enough quality. I do think Fulham will find a way to score, even without Mitrovic. They are quite high scoring in their home games, Fulham are. But I think 2-1. And I will pick a Man United player as my pick for this. I'm going to go with Bruno Fernandes. Good form in the League Cup. I feel like this could be a good game for him pre-World Cup. So I'll back Bruno Fernandes to come out of Man United to win by 2-1. Damo, we'll get your thoughts. I've got a feeling you might go for one of the Man United forwards here. But yeah, let me leave you to go through that. Let me know what you think, mate. Go on. Who's your pick and what's your score? I think you're just on mute.
Apologies. It's it's going to be a really, really interesting game, this one. Man United coming off the loss to, who was it? Villa, was it? Or
Villa. Well, they played Villa twice. They lost to Villa in the league, and then they beat Villa in the League Cup. So it's funny how that works out. You always get a team, they play them in the league, then they end up playing them in the cup the following week. It always works out like that.
And Man United, they've been eking out results, beat us 1-0. They drew to Chelsea 1-1. So they haven't been putting teams away, and I think Fulham. I don't think Fulham can win this game. I think they can get a draw. So I'm going to go 1-1 in this game, and I'm not going the Fulham win simply because there's no Mitrovic. So if you sort of watched the game against City, which City won 2-1, the Fulham's their defence line stayed really high and they waited for the counter. Now, I think being at home, they might play a little bit looser, but I think they may almost bully Man United into submission, I think. So I don't think we're going to see sexy football in this game. I think we're going to see just an absolute slog, and I think it'll be 1-1 with Fulham and Man United. So Yeah, and as you sort of alluded to earlier, I think all of us are going to keep Andreas on our benches, and and he may actually score the goal. So, yeah, like in terms of Man United, look, they were poor. They were poor in the game, and Rashford, Rashford is probably my pick in the game, like in terms of the Man United player to have for at least for this next run. Like obviously, if we don't count the World Cup, they've had Villa, Fulham. They're going to have obviously Fulham this week. Then they've got Forest, Wolves, and Bournemouth. So on paper, they should have picked up. They should pick up 5 wins, but obviously if they lost to Villa now. And Ronaldo missed a big chance as well. So I don't know. Like I'm gonna, as I said, say it's going to be a 1-1 draw, but I think it's just going to be an absolute slogfest. And I still think Rashford scores for Man United, and I think Andreas scores for Fulham.
Good stuff. And we've had a comment back in your Andreas shout. Pereira against his former club, bench him at your own peril on penalties with Mitrovic out. It's a very good point. And that does make Andreas even more appealing because he's on pens. So, and we know when you're a midfielder, you score a pen, you get those extra points, and you normally get the bonus too. So, good point from PSB. You're starting to make me think I might have to finally play Pereira. I've missed out on some big hauls from him lately. So maybe it's time to get him back in. But that is the fixture preview from myself and Damo at FPL West Ham. We are going to go through some differentials now. So this is the time for differentials, player picks, captain picks, curveball captain. It's going to be my picks. Then Damo's got some picks. Quinton from the FPL Amateurs of Oz as well, which is Damo's podcast with Quinton. He's given me some picks to read out for himself and Damo at FPL West Ham. You can see on the screen. They couldn't podcast this week, unfortunately. So Damo's come on to my podcast this week. Quinton obviously comes on as a guest quite regularly on this podcast too. So kind of combined together this week. And we've got all of our tips ready to go. Just before I go in this section, get your questions in the comments, because after we do this, there's going to be a Q&A, live Q&A, and we're going to run through the questions that have been asked. And we're going to answer them, and we're all going to see what the best transfers and moves are for game week 16. So I'm going to start my 3 differentials. I've gone Harvey Barnes at 1.7% for Leicester, 3 returns in his last 4. He's got the West Ham away game. Okay, I think I did say it was going to be a 1-1 draw, but I think Barnes will grab that goal for Leicester. I think he's a really good pick at the moment in that Leicester midfield. My next one, Damo mentioned this guy in his fixture preview for Bournemouth Everton. I've gone Tavernier, Marcus Tavernier. He's the brother of James Tavernier from Rangers. 16 points in his last game, 0.2%. Attacking midfielder he's playing as a wing back, and he's just so attacking and far forward as well. He is classified as a midfielder in the game as well. Everton at home, we know Everton's form isn't great of late. So Tavernier at 0.2%. And then my last one, I'm going to go with Kulusevski. Come on and change the game against Liverpool. Got an assist. If the game was an extra 5 minutes longer, he probably would have got another return. Leeds at home this week. He got a double-digit score in this game last season, which was at Ellen Road when he got the double-digit score, but still, really good pick, I think. In that game. And so that's my 3 differentials. They're all below 10%. So the criteria for the differentials is that they're below 10%. And what I will say is this is the week to pick a differential because it's post-World Cup. You just don't know what lineups are going to look like because players might be rested for the World Cup. Players might not want to play because of the World Cup. Players might get subbed early because of the World Cup. So, this is where you get the likes of Harvey Barnes, no England call-up, Tavernier, no England call-up, Kulusevski, Sweden aren't in the World Cup. This is the week where, you want to start looking at players that probably aren't in the World Cup because, they're going to be 100% ready for this game. So that's my 3 differentials. Damo is going to come in with his and shortly. I want to quickly read Quinton's differentials out because he has sent them through to myself and Damo. So let's quickly go through. I've actually just realised Quinton had sent me a full list of players from each fixture. So let's quickly go through that. City Brentford, he said Grealish was his pick. Everton Bournemouth, Myelenko. Liverpool Southampton, Salah. Forest Palace, Eze. Spurs, Leeds, Kulusevski. West Ham, Leicester, Ben Rama. Newcastle, Chelsea, Wilson. Wolves, Arsenal, Saliba. Brighton, Villa, Ramsey. And Fulham versus Man United, Garnacho, the Argentinian from Man United. So that's a huge pick. He said there's no Sancho or Anthony playing. So Garnacho could be a huge differential to pick. That's his differential pick for this weekend. That is absolutely huge. I'm just going to bring up Garnacho's price point and ownership. So he is in the game and he's classified as a midfielder at 4.3 million. He played 64 minutes away against Villa last week, and he's 0.2% owned. So, wow, huge enabler and pick for this week. Garnacho. So, yeah, someone to look out for. Big call from Q. So we'll see how that goes. He's also got some captain picks, but we'll pick them in a second when we go through our captains. Damo, if you've got one differential or three differentials, yeah, go for it, mate. Are they anyone different to the ones I've gone for?
Yeah, I've got a few. So I've obviously gone West Ham 1 in Ben Rama. He's 0.9% owned, so and been playing well. I've got Eze for Palace, 4.4% owned. I've got, obviously I mentioned him earlier, but for Leeds, Somerville, 0.6% owned, so another really low owned player. And I've got Kulusevski, who's 4.0% owned. That plays for you guys.
He's gone up 0.1% in the last probably 5 or 6 hours. So Kulusevski is now for people probably tuned into the pod and then they picked him, hopefully.
Yeah. So, as you sort of mentioned earlier, alluded to earlier, if you're going to pick either a Maverick captain, which we're going to talk about soon, or a player that's a differential, probably this is the week to do it, given that after this week we then do get unlimited transfers, and it's almost like a little bit of a free hit at a player. So
it is. Yeah, it really is. No, good picks there from Damo. I really like them. Really liking the Kulusevski pick, obviously the Eze pick as well. Quinton, your partner in crime, would love that pick. He loves Eze. So that's some really good picks there from Damo. Let's go on to some captains. I'll quickly go with Quinton's captain. So Quinton Dunn, FPL Amateurs of Oz, has picked Haaland as his number 1, Kulusevski as his number 2, and Marcus Rashford as his number 3. So no place for Mohamed Salah from Q. What do you think on those captains, Damo? I think Damo's on mute. I think he's speechless at the exclusion of Salah.
I think he's missed. Sorry, I think he's missed a few obvious ones. And I know you've sort of said that he's probably going to try and rest up and not play, and not play well, but not play sort of full capacity. And that's Harry Kane. I think Harry Kane can do something against Leeds. I think he still scores. If I had Harry Kane in my side round, I think game week 1, got rid of him in game week 2 for Haaland, and I think he's only not returned 2 games.
That's correct,
in that whole time. So so that was a bit, obviously, everyone sort of has to have Haaland, but maybe I was too jumpy with getting rid of Kane. But so I'll throw Kane in there, and I'm going to throw KDB in there as well as a pretty obvious one that he's missed against Brentford. So for mine, if I'm going to put it in any particular order, I'd go Haaland as 1, Salah 2, Kane 3, KDB 4.
Good stuff from Damo. So he's come with very similar, the same captains. I've gone 3 captains. So Damo's gone De Bruyne as a 4th one, which I really like that shout. De Bruyne is in my team. I do wish I had Salah, who I did have last week. Got rid of him, 15 points. We all know what happened. And then I've got De Bruyne. I've kind of got to stick with him now. But my captain is Haaland number 1 as well. Salah number 2, and Harry Kane. He's on there as number 3. Obviously, I've said I think he's going to be tired, and it's just. Yeah, I'm not sure. He's still going to be dedicated. He's still going to want goals. He's scored goals against Leeds before. Great performance against him at Ellen Road last season. So I'm still going to put him in there as number 3, but I could easily put De Bruyne in as number 3, or potentially Phil Foden if we get the news that he's going to start. But top 3 is Haaland, Salah, and Harry Kane. Differential from PSB. I'm picking Anthony Martial on my team. 0.8% owned v Fulham. Very good shout. He loves to get hauls when he plays, and then he just disappears for months on end, and then he comes back and he gets hauls again, and he's always very low owned. And Ten Hag has actually said that Martial will start this week, so very good pick from PSB. Comment that quickly coming from Renee K. Lots of World Cup talk, Matt. When will be your first pod? Good question. I'm in the process of arranging this, and I'm looking at probably early next week, potentially Tuesday. I'd say maybe Tuesday sort of time or Monday. We'll see. We'll see how we go. But yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna be myself, FPL West Ham Damo, who's obviously on the pod tonight. There is probably going to be involved as well. Quinton Dunn, his partner in crime, will be involved too. Daniel Capillaro, D10, will be involved as well, and then we'll have other guests. FPL Rue. An FPL based Melbourne account is keen to come on too. So we're gonna do all sorts of content. There'll be stuff on my channel. I'm sure Damo and Quinton will be doing all sorts of stuff on their channel to do with the Socceroos as well. So it's going to be absolutely huge. We can't wait for it. Also got World Cup Fantasy. I'll be talking about that more in the World Cup pods. You can check out my my link tree at FPL Matt Day link tree, and it will have a link to the World Cup Fantasy on there with the code. So go check that out. Let's go on to our curveball captains and our player picks. Quick one from Lexich. Only 2 games Kane had a blank. I had captain him, mate. I feel for you. That's just bad luck. That is bad luck. There's not much you can do about that. And then PSV's coming down. He's going to be back after a very long time. Yeah, he's not been on a pod for a while, but he's looking forward to some World Cup stuff. He absolutely loves the World Cup, so he is looking forward to that one. Curveball captains, mine's going to be Nunes. Southampton with no manager. Nunes seems to be getting about 5 or 6 shots off every game. Seems to hit the bar or get an offside goal and then grab a goal or grab an assist. And I think this could be the game. He does at least a goal with some bonus points, or maybe even a goal and an assist. I think Nunes is a good curveball captain for this game week. Still below 10% owned. That might change at deadline. 8.9 million. You can just about get him. He's sort of a mid-price striker. So he's my curveball. If you've got a curveball captain, let me know in the comments who it is and why. Damo, who is your curveball captain for the game week?
Yeah, so I've got 2. The first one being Kulusevski, as I sort of mentioned earlier. He would be 8.1 now if he had a price rise, isn't he? So 8.1 mil, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah, it should be.
So, but he's he's only 4% owned. He may be more since I looked that up, but so he's definitely one as a bit of a maverick captain. Obviously, given everything you've sort of said in terms of potential players that won't be taking it quite as hard as what they would normally do. And my other captain, one other maverick captain, it's a real maverick captain, is probably, and it's a West Ham boy, it's Ben Rama. So
Ben Rama, huge.
Yeah, I think he continues his good form. Like, he's 0.9% owned. He's one that would really, I think he's got something to prove to David Moyes, given that, don't get me wrong, I think Moisey rates him or likes him as a player. He was one of the last signings from the sort of the Golden Sullivan era. I know they still sort of own us, but in terms of when they controlled who got signed, rather than Moisey sort of controlling that. So Ben Rama's always sort of been a little bit on the outer because of that. But look, he's got skill. He's got talent to burn. He's got the skills there, and I think given how West Ham have played and how we desperately do need a win, it might be a bit of a statement game for Ben Rama.
Now, big call from Damo there. Very low owned, differential. Curve ball captain Ben Rama, who did score last week, and he's also on pens. And like Damo said, West Ham really need 3 points. Ben Rama is out to prove himself and keep himself in this lineup post the World Cup. So big pick there from Damo. If you've got a curveball captain, put it in the comments. I'm about to bring one up from PSB, who's got a really good curveball shout. Just a quick one. If you're new here, give the video a like. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done already. It would be great to have some return subscribers and comments here. We love everyone that comes in every week with their comments. It's great to see. PSB, Trossard, curveball captain. That's a big shout, especially if this is 3-3. Damo's gone for a 3-3 draw in this game. So if this is 3-3, you would expect Trossard to at least have a goal and maybe an assist, which would mean a big, big one for Trossard. And a lot of people captained Trossard last week and he only got 5 points, which normally means people transfer him out and then he comes out and gets a big, big score. So yeah, good stuff from PSB there with Trossard. So that is the differentials, curveball captains for the week. Let's just have one quick player pick. Mine's going to be Darwin Núñez. I think for the week, if you're looking at a transfer and it's a case of who do I think is going to be a really good pick for this week, it's Darwin Núñez. Damo, who's yours? I think he's on mute again. He's speechless. He's going to go Kulusevski, surely.
I am going to go Kulusevski. Yeah, so and apologies for keep muting, but my I've got my dog outside who sometimes is incessantly barking, so I try and keep that off the pod. So that's why I do mute myself when I'm not talking. So and then sometimes I forget. But yeah, definitely Kulusevski as my differential that will potentially will score this week.
No, good stuff there from Damo. All right, so just before we get into the Q&A, so get your questions in now. We want to see as many questions as possible as this is the last game week before the World Cup. Just a quick one. We have had a good comment actually. However, Darwin Núñez can be rested or subbed off early for the World Cup as Firmino has no Brazil call-up. So that's a very, very good point. Darwin Núñez is going away with Uruguay. So very, very good point there from Lexic. Just before, let's quickly just say who we're transferring in. So for me, I got rid of Haaland a couple of weeks ago when I heard he wasn't going to play. I'm going to be bringing him straight back in. I can either do it in one move or I can look at doing 2 moves. Could be a good week for a -4 because why not? We get unlimited transfers after the break. If I do, I might even take up my man Harry Kane for Haaland and then move Tony on for Darwin Núñez. Or maybe even Firmino now. I've seen that comment from Lexic as well. I think they're both going to be starting that game in a front three with Salah. So that could be my transfers. I'm also swayed by potentially seeing if I've got a way to get Perisic in the defence and then Haaland in up front. And it would have to be for Kane if I use 2 transfers like that. And I'm not against that because, like I said, I think Kane is just looking very, very exhausted. And I can see it being a scrappy 2-1, 1-0 win, if anything. But Damo, what are your moves going to be?
Well, I'm going to be a little bit different and say that I'm probably not going to be making any changes, but there is a reason for that. Okay. I was just reading, and I don't know if we'll touch on this later, but in terms of the World Cup Unlimited changes, I was sort of reading through some of the rules and regulations of it, and there's a little known thing just down the bottom that says you'll have 2 free transfers going into game week 18 only if you don't make any transfers during the unlimited transfer period.
Wow. So wow, that is huge.
So
huge.
It's going to be hard to not make changes, but I'm actually pretty happy with my side. So bearing any major injuries, I'm quite content with my side. So it might be a thing where I log out at FPL, maybe even delete the app and just forget about FPL for a while. But yeah, so that is one of the FPL rules sort of coming into the World Cup where, yeah, if you're sort of looking at, or if you have 2 free transfers and you don't make any transfers, you actually get 2 free transfers in game week 18. Whereas if you do make those transfers, you'll obviously only have the 1 come game week 18. So
that's massive.
Yeah, just massive. Some food for thought.
That's huge, and it's a great point there from Damo. And looking at it, if say in my own team, if I still had Haaland, hadn't made the move on him and just kept him, then I probably would have been looking at it thinking, you know what, I might just stick with the team I got. play Andreas Pereira, even play like Tony against Man City and just hope they get a pen or something, or Brentford get a chance. And then I probably would have done it and, had those extra 2 transfers after the unlimited transfers, because not many people would actually have those 2 transfers. And it could be a huge move, especially if that's a game week where there's some post-World Cup injuries from, playing back in the first week and they get injured. And then, teams have to take hits and all sorts. So, yeah, that's a big, big call from Damo.
And I will say also, if anyone still has their wild card, you probably have to, or if you don't play it this week, you do lose it. So if you still have your first, if you still have your first wild card available, you must play that ahead of the game week deadline, a game week 16 deadline, or you will lose it. So again, just some information in terms of the World Cup unlimited changes coming up.
No, good stuff there from Damo. And look, let's go into some live Q&A now. So if you've got questions, get them in the comments now. This is the time for everything game week 16. We're going to go through all the questions that have come up tonight in the comments, any new ones that come in. So let's get this done. Let's talk FPL game week 16. Questions now. Lexic has asked, hello, mate. Is it worth to bring in Darwin for Mitrovic, therefore having no more money in the bank? I would say 100% yes. You're not taking a hit. Mitrovic isn't playing. Would expect Darwin Núñez to play. He's got a good fixture. You can afford this even with no money in the bank. Absolute no-brainer, especially with unlimited transfers post-World Cup. Damo, what do you think?
Yep, 100% yes, I agree with you. Mitro's not playing, and Núñez could potentially bag quite a few goals. So, yeah, it's a yes for me.
Well, there you go, Lexic. If you're still tuning in, which I think you are, as you've been in the comments throughout the whole stream, we have both agree on that. I think it's an absolute no-brainer. So you have to do that for this game week. Questions come in from Jermaine Edwards. Welcome to the stream. Hi, guys. Would you sacrifice Cancelo for Perisic to have Darwin up front with Haaland and Kane on wildcard, and also KDB and no Salah? All right, look, I would prefer Salah this week to KDB. I have De Bruyne, but that was because I bring him in for Salah last week, not expecting the double-digit score from Salah. Now looking at it, Southampton without a manager, I would still prefer to have one of Liverpool's biggest goal threats than Kevin De Bruyne, because I still feel Haaland is their most productive, biggest goal threat. Whereas De Bruyne's got a chance to get the assist. So I would prefer Salah to De Bruyne. I don't think I'd sacrifice Cancelo. Brentford have been getting absolutely smashed away from home. So I would not sacrifice Cancelo. And I do like Darwin up front with Salah, but if you've got the Salah coverage, and then you want to find a way for Perisic, I'd have Perisic and Cancelo, and then maybe downgrade like a Darwin. And you could have, I'm just having a look at some of the games. You could even look at a Solanke, the GOAT, Big Dom Solanke, the GOAT, or maybe pack your midfield with a 5-man midfield. Yes, that's kind of how I would play it. But Damo, you got any additional thoughts?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't necessarily sacrifice Cancelo for Perisic. You've got player in Cancelo that basically plays 90 minutes every week. Perisic, as you would know, Matt, he's not guaranteed 90 minutes.
He's not.
If he starts, he might come off at 60. There's just too much risk involved with him, and I think out of sort of the 2 games of Spurs and City, I think Leeds do score in that game, whereas the City game against Brentford, I think City keep the clean. So I think you're giving away points there. In terms of KDB and Salah, I think it's much of a muchness. I know Salah, scored the 15 this week, but KDB's also capable of scoring double-digit returns as well. And as I said, in terms of this week, I think City do run rampant over Brentford. So, and KDB's got to be in the points there. So, I think it's much of muchness in terms of this week. But yeah, like if you want to sort of sacrifice for Darwin, I try and have a look at potentially. And again, I know like Newcastle playing Chelsea. Chelsea haven't really been playing well, so potentially a Trippier. I'm not sure how much points difference that is because I don't have it on me at the moment. I think what's Trippier worth at the moment?
I think he's like 5 points. You started at 5.5. Do you start at 5? So he'll be about 5.6 now, surely.
I don't. He's 5.9 actually, so a bit higher than I thought.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a really tough one. I think you're better off basically keeping Cancelo. But if you want sort of Darwin up front, they're probably better options than Perisic this week. Given like I think you need to be sure that they'll play 90, and I don't think Perisic does. Darwin's another one that, given Firmino is not World Cup bound, does Darwin have a little bit of a rest as well? I know he's on form, but that's another sort of. There's too many queries over players. Those players, I think, you stick to the players that play 90. Salah plays 90. KDB basically plays 90. I think you're keeping Haaland anyway, but so I'd stick with that, to be honest with you.
There you go. Good stuff from Damo there. I hope that helped you there, Jermaine. Lexic has come on in return to just mentioning about the Darwin Núñez being rested. He said, or do I substitute Andres in for Mitrovic, thus having a 5-man midfield and Kane, Haaland up front? That's not a bad idea because PSB mentioned Andreas is on pens. Damo also was mentioning how sharp Andreas has been lately. So sometimes it's a case of just use him. He's been getting points. He's been consistent with his points. He's looking sharp. He's Fulham's main goal threat without Mitrovic. It's probably worth just doing that. Especially if you don't use the transfer, like Damo said, in the game week, not straight after the game week, after the World Cup, but game week 18, you'll get 2 free transfers. So that could be a good idea. You've still got a very good attack anyway. Do you think that's probably the right way as well, Damo?
Yeah, I think that's the right way. So the only reason you go the other way is because you believe that Núñez will obviously score more than Andreas. So if you think that's the case, it's not a bad move. But other than that, if I had Andreas sort of sitting on my bench, I'd just be playing Andreas.
Good stuff there from Damo. Bora TV has come in with a question. Your thoughts on Pascal Gross, thinking to buy him on a free transfer for Andreas. Pump move for the attack versus Villa. Obviously, we've just been talking up Andreas and we think he's a great pick. I think Andreas is always a great pick if you need, if you don't have a transfer you want to make and you need that extra body on the pitch, he's a great player to bring in. As a punt move, if that's the only sort of that's the price range you're working in, and you really want to attack and target that Brighton game, and you can't get to Trossard, then Pascal Gross could be the next, big one to have. We have seen Chelsea game, 4-1 win, big points. There was the Leicester game, big points. So I would say his fixture, well, Damo thinks it's going to be 3-3. He mentioned he thinks it could be 3-3, lots of goals. So if you want to attack Brighton and you want to attack this fixture in particular, like I said, this is the week to just go for it. So, yeah, look, if you don't need any transfers in any other positions, then do it. Also, if it's just doing it for the sake of, I'm just making a transfer for the sake of making a transfer, then don't keep your transfer because then you can get the rollover in game week 17. But look, if you're really keen on attacking this fixture because you think there's going to be goals, similar to what Damo was saying, then I think it could be worth the move. Just before I pass on to Damo to go through his thoughts on it, if you are watching the video now, if you can just get your questions in, we're doing a Q&A. We've got another one that's coming to answer, but it would be good if we can get some more in whilst we're live. It would be good to get as many questions in as possible. This is the live Q&A. where we're going to answer all things Game Week 16. So get everything in the comments. Give the video a like, subscribe if you're new here, and get your questions in for myself and Damo. But Damo, what do you think on this?
So I'd probably be in the camp of not going Gross. I know he scored 9 and 7 the last couple of games, but before that he's sort of gone a little bit missing. I prefer Trossard. I'd almost prefer Lallana.
Lallana did well last week, didn't he? And he looked sharp as well.
And again, Lallana hasn't done much in the other games, but in that last game did do really, really well. So I would say, I think with that game, I think it's Trossard or bust. I do like Andreas though for this game, so I really think that if you're sort of tossing up between Gross and Andreas, I think it's going to be much of a muchness. But Andreas being on, given that Andreas is on penalties as well, you've got that sort of that up your sleeve as well. So I'd be more in the camp to hold.
No, good stuff. And actually, it's another good point. Obviously, Andreas being on pens, Gross being on pens, it's kind of like for like in a way. And Gross has obviously dropped off of late, which was mentioned by Damo then as well. Comment coming from Jabulani. That's a cool name. I think he's basing that on the 2010 World Cup ball that was used. The Jabulani is a cool name. He's come in. He said, "I'm lusting over Firmino, even if he blanked, because all I know is Liverpool can't get a big result without him. And I think they'll make a statement since Nunes is the only one going to the World Cup." We've had this comment come in a couple of times tonight, and it's starting to make me think, Firmino, this could be the week. And what Firmino's good at, he's got this knack of getting absolutely massive scores against teams that are struggling. We've seen it a few times this season. We saw it last season. I always revert back to it on the podcast when Liverpool went to Watford, won the game. I think it was 5-0. Firmino come out with like 24 points or something absolutely ridiculous. Saints don't have a manager. And we had the comment from Onto the Ball earlier where he did mention Liverpool could either win this game, 9-0, or Southampton could win it 1-0. Like, that's just the way Southampton are. I'm actually starting to really like this Firmino pick. Damo, what are your thoughts on this comment?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. If you're and I've always said, if you're keen on a player, bring him in, because like at worst they blank and you're like, oh well. But especially if you're a player that you're really, really lusting over and you want to bring them in, you just know if you don't bring them in, you're going to be disappointed if and when they haul. So given that it's a week for the World Cup, you can make those sort of differential moves this week. Why not? Why not? If you're dead set on him, go for him. At worst you get a blank, but the upside's there.
Good stuff. Love that from Damo, and I think he's right. There is certainly an upside in this move, especially because Firmino didn't get in the Brazil squad, and you can almost imagine him coming out and absolutely punishing the Brazil manager with a hat trick and saying, "You should have picked me for the squad." Look, let's get some more questions that have come up. Like I said, if you have just joined the stream, please get your questions in. This is the Q&A. We want as many questions as possible before the Game Week 16 deadline, because once this deadline's done, there's no FPL, whilst the World Cup's on. So we want to see as many questions come in as possible. Comments come in from Trons for MEYT. Sorry, a bit late on the stream. That's all right, mate. Thanks for coming in. Can you see my Twitter DM? I sent you my team. Let's get your thoughts. So I'm just going to pull up Twitter. I've got my phone here, and let's check out his team, and then we'll see what it's all about. All right, so I'm going to read out his team. Let me know in the comments, mate, if you've got one or two transfers, and then we'll work out what is best. All right, so I'm just going to read out the team. All right, so I'm just going to pull up the team now. Okay, so we've got a squad of Guaita, Ward, Cucurella, James Justin, Nico Williams, Cancelo, Trippier, and then a midfield of Martinelli, Zaha, Gordon, Madison, Mahrez, Firmino, Ronaldo, and Kane. It's a very differential squad in some parts. Pretty cool. He's got 1 free transfer and 0.3 in the bank. To be honest, I think you can play. I'd be looking at Cancelo, Trippier at the back. The third one, I'd probably look to move Cucurella on. I'll say who for in a second. Midfield, I'd play 3 at the back. Then I'd go Martinelli, Zaha, Madison, Gordon, and I probably wouldn't play Mahrez unless we get early team news that he's going to play. Otherwise, if you don't get the early team news, Mahrez is going to play. I'd play Gordon, and then I'd play the front 3 of Firmino, Ronaldo, and Kane, just hoping that Ronaldo is going to play. Then you haven't got Haaland. To be honest, mate, I actually probably would say Ronaldo in for Haaland, and then maybe Mahrez out, and then with the 0.3 in the bank, you might be able to go for Jacob Ramsey in that Brighton Villa game. That's probably what I would do, because you need to get Haaland in there as captain if you think he's going to play. So I'd find a way for Haaland, which is Ronaldo out, and then I'd look to move Mahrez on and downgrade him for one of those cheaper enabler midfield options. Damo, any thoughts?
Yeah, so for mine, I'm sort of looking at, and I know they're playing Bournemouth, but I'm looking at Gordon there, and he's 5.7 or 5.8. And did you say he had 1 free transfer? Did you?
Got 1, and he's got 0.3 in the bank.
So looking at who he can sort of get for 5.7 in the midfield, you've got Eze in there who has been playing pretty well. You've got Gross in there who's as we said, the last couple has got back-to-back returns. You got Andreas in there who's got a double-digit return in the last 3. So you've got quite a number of good sort of players. Like, I know Billing has sort of dropped off the face of the earth, but he did get 7 points last week. So I'd sort of be looking in to replace Gordon, who I'm not a huge fan of. Like, you've even got players like Bruno Guimaraes at 5.7. You got Bailey at 4.5, who's been a little bit rejuvenated as of late. Tavernier, who scored 16 last week. So yeah, I think that's the spot he sort of needs to target. Again, I know you're saying that he doesn't have Haaland, but he could potentially risk it given there's. I won't say that there's no guarantees he's not fully fit, because he played the last game sort of thing, so he should be back and should be in the lineup. But given that he's already sort of very differential, could take that as an opportunity to get one of those sort of how do I put it, like just players in form at the moment at that sort of 6.0 range.
Okay. No, I love that, Damo. So Tron's actually come in. He said thanks, and he'll check on Ramsey as well. So hopefully myself and Damo have helped you out there. Some good points there from Damo. We had another question come in from Jabilani. Damo, what I might do is I might continue with the questions, and we'll let yourself go if you need. Do you need to go from the pod now?
Yeah, I'll just saying that I think my son was stirring a little bit, so I might have to. That's why I sort of had to leave him punctually before. But thanks. I just want to say thanks for sort of having me on. I do appreciate it. Hope to do a few more of these. I'm always a little bit nervous doing the video pods instead of the audio ones. I like sort of hiding a little bit in my little bubble, but it's been really good. So I appreciate that, and thanks again.
Awesome. It's been great to have Damo on. Just before he leaves, at FPL West Ham on Twitter, go and check him out. He's also part of the at FPL Amateurs of Oz podcast with Quinton Dunn. So go and check them out as well. So go and give him a follow now on Twitter. If you go onto my Twitter page at FPL Matt Dave, for those that watch and follow me, I'll tagged him in the tweet for this, so you can just go on there, click on there and follow. If you're a West Ham fan, he's great to follow as well. But just general for FPL, lots of differential picks, lots of really good picks every week. It's great to see him on screen, looking sharp as ever, despite wearing his West Ham shirt. But look, we'll let him go because he's got to get back to the kids. I'm going to stay on a bit longer because I'm going to continue to take some Q&A. So see you, Damo. Thanks for coming on, mate. And we'll see you in some World Cup content. What a legend FPL West Ham is. We've had some more comments that come in. And Jabulani has asked, at worst, we get a blank and a new team after this game week. Are you guys going to touch the World Cup fantasy? Can we see your team or what you might be thinking? You know what? I am doing the fantasy for the World Cup. And if you go onto my at FPL Matt Day on Instagram, Twitter, even on this YouTube, if you go onto my channel, you can see all the links, even in the description for this video. And you can find the link tree. And on there, you can go straight into my World Cup fantasy link. You can join my mini league. Just download the FIFA Plus app. My team at the moment is an auto select team. So I actually haven't got my full side to show you just yet. But what I will say is I am going to be doing some preview pods and stuff next week for the World Cup fantasy. So hit the subscribe button if you haven't done already. Also hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. Like the video as well. I'm going to have plenty of World Cup content. I'm going to be doing a video about the rules for the World Cup as well for the fantasy game. So that will all be coming, mate, in the next week. So stay tuned on here. Hit the subscribe button, mate, so you don't miss out. And I will be touching on it. So I'll give you just a couple of things now. I do think the likes of Neymar will be really good. A couple of the big guns, him and Messi. So definitely keep an eye out for them. But like I said, all the World Cup content will be coming in the next week. So subscribe if you haven't done to hear that. Let's bring up some more comments that come in. The FPL crash absolutely burnt me last week since I transferred out Haaland and Foden. Mate, do not worry. That happened to me as well. So I was going to play Pereira. I had a 3-5-2. It was all set up. And I was trying to click confirm and confirm and confirm and confirm on my team. And it just wouldn't let me do it. It was an absolute nightmare. I missed out on some additional points from Andreas Pereira. So the crash affected me as well. So do not worry. And you're right. I never thought 15 minutes before the deadline it will crash. Neither did I, but it's happened 2 weeks in a row. So maybe another little bit of advice is this week, if we're just waiting on Man City news and, we think we don't get enough from Pep's press conference and we think Haaland could be injured, it's probably a case of maybe just make the transfers early and just forget about the app, and go from there. I'll also be doing a deadline stream tomorrow live, an hour and a half before deadline. So you can come back onto this channel. I'll be doing a live stream. So any more late questions, I can answer then as well. So come on there, forget about the FPL app and just come onto the stream. As soon as Man City news came out, it's been a nightmare, especially when they have the early kickoff. Matt Cowden's just come in saying, thanks, Demo and Matt, great pod. Great to have you in here, mate. And we obviously appreciate the support. If you've got any questions for the game, just get them in the comments. Eddie Casey, welcome to the stream. He just said, who should I get for Mitrovic, Martial or Darwin? It's got to be Darwin for me, or Firmino. Firmino's the one now I'm looking at, and I'm like, no call up for Brazil. He's got a point to prove. Liverpool have got a managerless Southampton. It's got to be Firmino or Darwin. They're the ones. I know Martial's in there. He's going to start, but I prefer Southampton at home for Liverpool than Fulham away for Man United. So it's got to be either Darwin or Firmino for me, would be my pick. And obviously you get rid of Mitrovic because he is not fit to play. And then another comment here come in. I joined it, not touched it since many players are missing from the official World Cup fantasy game. And that's one of the problems with the World Cup fantasy game at the moment, is the squads haven't actually been announced. So, we're not able to fully build our teams and squads. So you've got to wait until they're all out. They're all completely announced. And then all the players are in the game. So we can then properly pick our teams and assess them. So like I said, World Cup fantasy will be coming in the next few days. So stay tuned for that. If there's any more game week 16 questions, please get them in now. I'm happy to stay on for a few more minutes as I want to take as many questions as I can. Please give the stream a like and the channel a subscribe too. And it'll be great to have some more questions. Trying to just come in. Will there be unlimited transfers before Game Week 17 starts? I heard from someone there is. So once this Game Week's done, Game Week 17 starts, unlimited transfers. If you keep your transfers for Game Week 15, in Game Week 17, you will actually get 2 transfers. In Game Week 16, even if you don't make any unlimited transfers, you will not get 2 transfers in Game Week 17 unless you've not made any transfers in Game Week 15. So there's lots to think about, but you will get unlimited transfers. But like me and Damo mentioned earlier, if you change your whole squad, all 15 players, and then you look at it and you think, I want to change another 15 players, and you keep transferring players in and out during the break, that will count as a transfer. So if you're head-to-head with a friend in a mini league at the end of the season, those transfers, each one you do over and over and over, will count as a transfer. So you could lose a mini league if it's head-to-head on points based on transfers. So just be very cautious of that. Bora TV's come in with a comment. Which one transfer to make? Wilson to Jesus, Andreas to Gross, Kilman to Perisic. I have Trossard in my team. The rest is okay. Oh, that's a good question. I like Jesus with Wolves. Not a good side, but Jesus hasn't been very clinical. Brilliant player, but he just isn't. Is he due a haul, or is it just he just isn't a clinical player? Like, he was never that clinical at Man City. Andreas de Gross, obviously we spoke about that earlier. We're a little bit on the fence with that one. I would go Kilman to Perisic. Kilman isn't keeping a clean sheet in that game. Perisic, okay, he might not keep a clean sheet, but if he does play in that front three again, he hit the woodwork twice against Liverpool. He takes all of the set pieces for Spurs. Spurs have had the most set piece goals in Europe. So what you're effectively going to get out of Perisic is potentially an assist from a corner, or a free kick, maybe a goal, because he could be in a front two or a front three. You'd expect a front three because it'd be Kulusevski and Kane as the other two, and then Perisic on the other side. So you have Perisic on the left of a front three, Kane in the middle, and we'd then see Kulusevski on the right. And if there's a clean sheet, even better, you can end up with a huge score. So I'm going Perisic for Kilman for me. And then Bora TV just come back with a thank you for the stream. Anytime, mate. Love the questions, and absolutely love all of the interactions from everyone that tunes in every week. It's been absolutely brilliant. Obviously, the first 16 game weeks are about to finish before the World Cup. I want to say thanks to everyone that supported the channel in that time. Has come into the streams every week, has liked the videos. I absolutely appreciate it, and all of the support is brilliant. Look, if no more questions come in the next 15 to 20 seconds, I will look to wrap up the podcast. Like I said, plenty of World Cup content. So stay tuned for all of that over the next few weeks with the World Cup. If you like this video, please give it a like. Give the channel a subscribe as well. Send the YouTube channel to all of your friends as well that love football, FPL. Because it'll be great to get more questions in and more people here every week. Absolutely love it. Last comment. I'm so happy for Maddison, who got in the England squad finally, but sad for Dan Burton. He performed better than Maguire. I agree. I think with that one, it's been more of a case of Maguire has done well for Southgate in previous tournaments, and he's probably looking at it, Southgate, thinking this could be his last tournament as an England manager. He probably wants to try and bring in players that have done it for him before, tried and trusted. That I don't personally agree with it. I think coming into a World Cup, especially mid-season, you've got to pick players that are playing every week, that are on form for their club. But at the same time, there's not been such a short turnaround. There's not enough time to bring someone like Dan Burn in, integrate him into an England lineup. There's not been the friendlies and that's the problem with the mid-season World Cup. So I can kind of understand it, but yeah, I do agree, and I'm very happy for Maddison. He completely deserves it. Quick ones come in from Kalibu Hosea. Who is the best captain, Salah, Haaland, or Kane? If we get the early team news on Haaland, it's Haaland. It's got to be him. Brentford, I mentioned it before. I think it's 11 goals conceded in their last 3 away games. 2 goals away at Forest, 4 goals away at Aston Villa, and 5 goals away at Brentford. Manchester City away for Brentford. Haaland's been rested for the last week. He isn't injured, is he? Come on last week, scored a header, disallowed, got the pen. He could have had a hat-trick in about 10 minutes. I can see him getting another big haul if he starts this game, and I think he does start this game. So Haaland number 1, Salah number 2, Kane number 3. If Haaland's injured and we do get news that he won't start, I don't think it's going to happen, but if that does happen, Salah's number 1, Kane's number 2, and then probably De Bruyne as number 3. But Nunes is my curveball captain if you've got Darwin Nunes. But look, we'll look to wrap up the pod there. We've not had any more questions come in, so we won't take up too much of everyone's time. Thanks again, everyone who tuned in. Like I said, really appreciate the support. Give the stream a like, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. I will be back tomorrow night for a deadline stream. So if you are watching now and any more questions come in the next 24 hours, then come back tomorrow night. I'll be back. It'll be an hour earlier than the stream that was on tonight because deadline, I'm going to be doing it 1.5 hours before deadline. So come in, get all your questions in, watch the stream. It'll be more of a Q&A than anything else. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all then. Thanks for all the love as well. Anytime, mate. I'll see you in the stream tomorrow night, and I'll see you all in that one. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate all of the love, support, and emojis. But look, that's it. I'll see you all tomorrow night. Good luck, everyone, for game week 16, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.